Hello and welcome back to another video. In this video we are going to talk about how to be a good full support healer in Ragnarok Online. So ever since the last video and with GGH closed beta ended, I've been doing my research to the point where I've also downloaded a high rate renewal Ragnarok Online to test out the abilities and skill and just really have an idea of what I'm going to build when the official Ragnarok Online releases. Most of the characters that I've tested is not a full support, but because most likely multi-client is going to be available, I feel like a lot of people will be playing a priest at some point. So this video is really just a sharing of what I think support needs and also how to level it and where. As a disclaimer, I don't generally play this class, so do take it with a grain of salt. And if you feel like there are any inaccuracy or if you have tips that you want to provide me, feel free to leave it down at the comments. So without further ado, let's start. Now, first of all, I would like to introduce you to a website called RateMyServer.net. Now, you don't get the most up-to-date stuff from RateMyServer because it follows IRO and IRO follows KRO, and KRO is the one that is obviously the most up-to-date. But I do find that the interface here and the information that they provide is a lot. So right now we're going to base off their skill calculator and build a priest. Now this priest is going to be up to level 99, and then it's going to go for a rebirth, and then we're going to have the high priest, and then finally the archbishop. So let's start with the priest. Now I have one already built here, which I think is not going to be that interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset. I'm going to show you how I would actually build. So the first thing when creating a character and deciding the skills for your build, you should always go from the bottom up. This means that we're going to look at the PreSkills and what we want, and then from there it might actually determine what you need in the acolyte skill, because certain PreSkill requires certain acolyte skills. So over here you can see the PreSkills, and this is what you want to look at first and see which one that you really want. Certain skill, like for example Gloria, needs Kyrie and also Magnificent. So from here, just by selecting this, I'll have those things at its minimum requirement for Gloria will be going in as well. Okay, so let's start over. I do feel like Gloria is very important because my support is also going to be helping my brewer, and Gloria is going to help increase that success rate. So this is definitely a must for me. Resurrection is also extremely important, so we're going to get that as well. Now the rest of the things is debatable. Actually, there's one more thing that I definitely want is turn undead. So the way turn undead works is that there's a percentage where you cast this on an undead and then it will kill it instantly. Obviously it will not work on bosses, but this is very useful because at level 90 to level 99 there is going to be a monster that you'll be killing with really good experience called Anubis, and this is going to help you a lot. Now you might be wondering that, oh wait, I'm trying to be a full support. This doesn't seem like a supporting skill, it's a killing skill, but this is for the future. The reason why is because right now you are a priest, but in the future you are actually going to become a archbishop. So at the start, when you're only going for a second job, it's really important to really just get to the level 99 so that you can rebirth. So you really don't have to subject yourself with that much of a torture by trying to be full support right off the bat. This ability is going to help you a lot, and so it's really important to get it right now. However, once you are rebirth, it's really important not to get this if you want to be full support, because 10 points in your skill tree is a lot, and that would really translate to 10 points of other things, supportive things that you won't be getting. The last thing in this list that I might consider is Lex, but it's not that important to me, so I would put this last. If I have any extra points, we might apply this. So right now, let's see, Resurrection at level 1, that's fine by me. With Magnificent, it's very important. And then we have Gloria, which I also want for my brewer, because I want to start brewing as soon as I could. As long as I have the materials, I don't mind start brewing. So this could be fairly useful. It also gives 30 luck. That could translate to about 3% lucky dodge, and also more critical, and it also provides some resistance and other stuff as well, but we're not going to get into detail with that. And finally, we have turn undead at level 10 to kill the monster as fast as possible. Now you can actually look up the skill, so let's say I have it over here, you can see the calculation of the chance, how it works. You'll find things like over here, this means that the lower the health of the enemy, the higher the chance of actually causing it to die instantly. So you could actually damage it a little bit first before using this ability, but in my opinion, it's just a lot faster to just use it and hope for your luck. And then if he dies, he dies. If he doesn't die, maybe teleport away, because the monster that you'll be casting this mainly on from level 90 to 99 is kind of tough. You just want to use it once and see if it works, teleport away, and then find another one, use it once again. The chances of it actually working is about 20% if I'm not mistaken. I think it's not written here. That is excluding the effects that you could actually increase the chance. If you have more luck, this means Gloria will help, and also if you have more INT and also your base level, and again the damage that has been done on that enemy. Another thing that would probably maxed out is going to be increased spiritual power. That gives me more spammability because my skills use a lot of SP. In fact, one of the biggest problem with healers is that they run out of SP really quickly. In a heated battle, so many of the characters need heal, you're healing non-stop, you're blasting, you're doing all the buffs, and then next thing you know, you have to sit down because you couldn't even cast the most basic of heals. So now that we have a rough idea of what we need in the priest skill, we're going to look at the acolyte skill tree. So these are the minimum requirements. So certain things that you might not thought that you would want, you do need a certain amount because of your priest. And then from here, we're going to look at the things that we want over here first. So blasting is going to be very important. We have agility increase as well, very important. And then we have warp portal, which I feel like it could be a good beginner income. I've seen people selling, at least in the beta, selling the warp to Glossium at 10 to 5k, and I think it's kind of reasonable if you think about it, especially during the closed beta where everything is all about time, right? You're running out of time because closed beta is going to end soon. Also, unlike the private servers, we don't have the ability to warp anywhere we want, so therefore this will really help a lot in my opinion. So I'm going to get that. Now at one point we can actually also get this ability if we have warp portal level 4. So I'm gonna put this in as well. In my opinion, this is actually one of the most OP abilities, but it's very niche in terms of it's only versus against range physical types. So if you go into PvP and there is a hunter, for example, with one skill, that hunter becomes pretty much useless. Now, of course, this works on general monsters as well. For example, if you're fighting against the Orc Lord, which summons a bunch of Orc archers, then using this will kind of render all the army useless. Okay, now once you have pulled the skills that you want, we're going to see what we want to increase to maxed out. So heal is a definite must. And then we have increased agility over here, plus 10. And then we are also going to get blessing, plus 10. With one skill, we can get cure. In my opinion, I feel like cure is not that useful because it's hard to keep track of who got blinded and things like that. However, cure can also remove silence, and I feel like silence is one of the more scary debuffs that you could actually have on your team. And just like that, you have 3 points left, and I'll probably go for Angelus. In terms of buffing your teammates to make them more survivable, you have Angelus, which increases defense, and then we also have Kyrie, which gives some amount of block chance, but the amount of maximum damage that you can block is also based off the percentage of your health. So just based on the description alone, I would say that Angelus is actually better for the tank. That is the main character that's going to be taking a lot of damage because it increases the Vit defense, and those characters generally has a lot of Vit. In other words, this skill is not going to be that useful for characters that do not have a lot of Vit. For example, an agility based assassin or agility based hunter. Kyrie on the other hand is almost like the opposite, where it's actually better for agility based characters because those characters don't normally get hit, but if they do get hit, they get a lot of damage. So having Kyrie to protect those kind of agility characters will actually help them to survive those sudden hits. The drawback, however, is that there is also a maximum damage that it could absorb, which is 30% of its maximum health. And characters like those don't generally have a lot of health. Now I believe that if this is applied on an agility character, the misses from the monsters will still activate the sound effect, but it actually doesn't lose one of the attack counts. Now we do have 10 points left, so if you're not getting Lex, and if you do with Lex at level 1, you're gonna have 7 points left. You can actually decide for yourself if you want to get Kyrie or the Angelus. Personally, I'll probably go for Angelus simply because it also helps me more. As a priest, you're probably not only going to want to have a lot of intelligence and maybe some amount of dex to cast faster, but also you want to have a lot of vitality so that you can survive the hits. Because if the healer goes down, the whole team will be without a healer, and yeah. Next, we're going to take a look at the Archbishop. And to me, this is the part where my experience kind of go downhill, because I kind of stopped playing Ragnarok back when it was just before pre. So I don't have a lot of experience with how the Archbishop ability is going to be workable and which one is exactly more practical to have. However, there are a few things that I feel like you should definitely get. Feel free to correct me down at the comments. And similarly, let's start over and I will guide you through. So just like before, we're going to look at the Archbishop skills, and then we're going to see which one we feel like is the most important. And by selecting those, it's going to determine some of the skills that you'll need in High Priest and also your Acolyte. Now, sadly, we can't just build a High Priest simply because later on when you become an Archbishop, I don't think there's actually a sort of a reset like you have when you rebirth. So therefore, things that you put here, if it's not used over here, or maybe if there's a better ability over here, then those skill points is going to be wasted. So therefore, we are going to look over here and go up as usual. So the first thing that we're going to get is we're going to get this one, Ancilla. This basically gives you a kind of item, and you can carry I think up to 3 at a time, and this item is going to be used or consumed when you cast certain abilities. So for example, I think this is also a very important skill. What this does is that it creates a tree that revives nearby allies. It also gives regeneration for SP and HP and things like that. So I'm just going to click on it, so you can see that this one consumes one of this thing that you first have to learn how to create. And after you create, you have to hold it, and every single time you have one with you, you can add it with holy water and create this tree. Okay, so basically this is also a very important skill, so we're gonna put this in the list as well. And then the next thing that I feel like is going to be important is going to be this one. This is basically increased agility, but it is an AoE. So the problem with having a lot of teammates is that whenever it's time to buff, you have to buff them individually one at a time. So you blast, 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 and then AG up, AG up, AG up, AG up, AG up. And the more teammates that you have, the harder and the more tedious this gets. Also, by the time you finish buffing from the first one to, let's say, the 12th one, the first one would, probably going to be expired soon. It's really not that convenient. So having this makes a lot of sense. Basically, it's an AoE agility buff. Everyone just needs to stand together, and then when you cast this, everyone within that premise is going to get an agility up. So this agility, this is actually blessing. So similar to agility, this is blessing. I didn't really explain what agility does and blessing does because it's so, I feel like it's very easy to understand. But to make it simple, blessing gives you 10 plus 10 strength, intelligence, and dex, which a lot of damage dealers is going to need. Because there's dex, it's also good for brewing, and INT is also good for brewing. Having blessing on yourself as well is actually also really good because it makes you cast faster, makes your heal more. And then we have agility up that makes you move faster, and also I believe if you look at the current description, it just says that it gives you a certain amount of agility, and also makes you move faster by 25%. But I believe this might be outdated. I think the more updated version is that it also increases attack speed. So not only does this increase your attack speed with the 12 agility, but I think there's also an added ASPD increment in percentage as well. So I'm not 100% sure, but I think this might be outdated. Now the next thing that I feel like is kind of important for full support is probably this one, which is called Sacrament. And what Sacrament does is that it reduces the fixed cast time by 50%. So although this sounds like a really good skill, I'm not 100% sure how practical it is and how many drop 4 skills that are actually fixed cast time driven. Now if you put this in, it actually takes out a big chunk away from the list, and simply because to get that you actually need a lot of things. I feel like the fact that there is so much costing in order to get this skill, it has to be good, right? So let's max this one out. Please let me know down in the comments if you have experience using Sacrament, if it's a trash skill or not. Now the last thing that I feel like could be kind of useful is this one, which I don't really know how to pronounce, Praefatio. Anyway, this skill is basically Kyrie, right? It's basically Kyrie. The only difference is that the description is different. It doesn't seem to have a cap on how much damage it could take before it breaks, and it seems to be able to block a lot more, because previously if you look at Kyrie, it's only up to 10 hits. This one is up to 16 hits, and if the description is accurate, then there is no cap, so it works on all characters. Plus this is going to be AoE, so I think that this could be also something very useful to have. So if I have to continue spending my points, it's probably going to go into this. As for the other Archbishop skills, I just really don't know enough. I don't even know if the healing is actually sufficient for higher level plays. That do I really need renovation, and do I really need highness heal, right? Can I leave it at level 1, or should I max this as well? But if I have to, I do have the points for it. Next we're gonna have the high priest. Now from here, based on the list, meditation is also very important. What this does is that it increases your heal abilities by 20%. And also when you're sitting, it also gives you maximum SP and also SP recovery, so that is also good. But in my opinion, this 20% extra heal could be one of the things that makes this more worthwhile. So one of the biggest problems for support in this game is that you can't heal fast enough. Even though you have the SP capacity or whatever, the delay between heals is just too slow to keep up with the damage, especially if the tank is being surrounded by monsters. Next we have Assumption, which basically reduces damage, also very good. So we're going to max that out. It reduces damage by half on regular monsters, and I think 1/3 in PvP. So just because you can't heal it fast enough, if you could make your tank take less damage, you might be able to heal him fast enough now. After that we have Gloria for brewing reasons, so we're going to max that as well. Resurrection, very important. One of the things that we're doing differently is that we're not going to get turned undead this time. So because we are going full support, we're not actually going to be fighting by ourselves. Most of the time you will be in a party. Then we come down to these two skills, which is kind of debatable. It kind of depends. Mana recharge has the ability to actually reduce spells or skill consumption by 20% SP, and that is huge. The only problem is the requirement to get this requires Demon Bane at level 10, which is this skill that originally we don't even need it to be at level 1. So you need to spend 10 points over here and another 10 points on Mace Mastery. Now as a full support, you're probably not going to be using a Mace, probably going to go for a 1. So although this is a really good ability because it can reduce the consumption, it is too taxing to be having. That means you're going to lose a lot of points, maybe even points that we don't have, just to get this. So I would actually rather go for something else and maybe carry more blue potions instead. The next one that I feel like is kind of fun to have is Basilica. What this does is it creates a square around you that prevents enemy from attacking through, but you can't attack out as well. However, the priest will be stationary and he cannot move. Now I feel like this has some special functions. Like for example, you can use this as a signal to signify that, oh, you ran out of SP. Because one of the biggest problem is when you're farming and playing and then you run out of SP and you don't have the time to actually tell people that you don't have enough SP, and then or maybe they're not paying attention to you, and even if you type it out, it's too late, they're gonna die because they're expecting a heal, for example. So having this ability, the moment you run out of SP, or you know you're gonna run out of SP, cast this skill is gonna be very obvious. There'll be a square around you, and basically your teammates will notice that, oh, this must mean that, you know, maybe you run out of SP, and they can go next to you and stay safe. Other reasons that I feel like this could be a good use is like, let's say one of your friends says that, oh no, I got disconnected, but the character is still in game. and to prevent him from dying and lose 10%, which could, you know, be a large amount depending on his level, you could stand next to him and use this ability. Now sadly, it does consume a yellow gemstone, blue gemstone, red gemstone, and I think holy water. Also, it only lasts for 40 seconds. However, I do think that 40 seconds might be enough for, you know, the character to get locked out. Okay, let's finish increasing the other stuff that I want. So Gloria, Magnificat, Resurrect at level 1 first. You could max this out. It basically resurrect with more health, but I feel like at level 1 should be fine, and then just heal the rest of the amount, so you don't have to actually spend a point here. And then the rest I'm gonna just up my increased spiritual power. So we still have 12 points, which is a lot, so you still have a lot of flexibility to go wherever you want. Remember, because you're high priest now, it's not like you are the priest. Your job level could actually go up to 70, so you have extra 20 points supposedly to increase anything you want. But we have these as well, so therefore we have spent here. However, we do not have turn undead, so we save on here. Now we're going to look at the acolyte. So acolyte, if we introduce the pneuma, this one, and it's just going to automatically increase your warp to level 4, teleport to level 2. I feel like teleportation, although the fly wing is actually not that expensive, and I find that in renewal a lot of the monsters actually drop fly wings, which was kind of a shock to me when I first played it. However, as a priest, you don't have a lot of strength, so your weight capacity is kind of low, and in the future you're probably going to be focusing on carrying blue potions and also gemstones, so you might not want to carry fly wings instead and just use this ability. And yeah, just like that. Okay, so we have 2 points left. I'm probably gonna go for Angelus, right, because you have to spend all your points before you can go to High Priest, so I'll probably go for Angelus with this 2 points. Now for some honorable mention that didn't really make it into the list is like Safety Wall. I think this is actually pretty good, especially for boss fights. However, it's also kind of conditioned and the character cannot move around. It doesn't block magic attacks though, which is also a problem. However, we do have enough extra points that if you really want to, you could get it. It's just that one of those things that I think I'll probably not have. The next ability that I'm going to talk about is Imposition Madness. This ability increases your damage by 25, and this is physical, so it does kind of work with a lot of characters because most of the classes are actually physical, except for magician, I guess, obvious. So yeah, feel free to invest if you feel like it's a good thing. This is great for casting speed for magicians. However, again, magicians is in the minority, so something to think about as well if you want to increase this. But the problem with this is that the duration is actually very short, and max level is only 10 seconds. And for the last honorable mention is probably Sentry. In my opinion, Sentry is really good. You know, you can save a lot of SP by using one Sentry that could heal potentially as many as they can fit in. The only problem with this ability is that it's not really that useful in a emergency situation, because when you cast this during fights, it also heals the enemy. So in my opinion, Sentry is one of those skills where once everything is dead and there's a lot of people to heal, instead of healing each one individually, you use the Sentry, everyone go on board and get healed. And also when you become an Archbishop, you will have AoE heals anyways. So I don't think that Sentry is a good investment, especially for a High Priest. Now the last thing I want to talk about is Blessing and Agility increase. The thing about these two skills is that I've seen videos of people in Renewal where they have scrolls that gives them Agility and Blessing. So my question now is that how strong are those scrolls? Are they easy to come by? Is it cheap? Do I even need to max out both my Blessing and Agility just so that I could give it to you? Is it just so much easier for you to get it yourself, right? Okay, finally we're going to talk about leveling, and very importantly, you have to know this experience system table thing. If you fight something that is 10 levels above you, you're going to get extra 40% increase EXP. If you fight something that is the same level as you or somewhat, it's going to be no increment, it's 100%. Anything that is below your level, you're going to get a penalty. That means you get less experience. And if something that is super high up, you know, more than 15 levels above you, you are also gonna get a 60% penalty. Now this 60% penalty is a bit different from different servers. I see servers that only have up to 40, but it seems like the one that we're gonna be playing is gonna be 60% penalty. And you can see over here, if it's 30 and above, it's going to be a 90% penalty. The next thing we're going to talk about is the drop rate, which I find it kind of weird because the drop rate actually decreases if it's too far away from your level. And this kind of makes it hard to farm for certain things, right? So for example, if you play and you decided at level 70 that you want a creamy card, it's going to be even harder for you to get a creamy card. So in order to get a creamy card, you have to recreate a character that is that level and go hunt for a creamy. And if you're really unlucky and you over level while hunting only creamies, and you are actually going to have trouble getting more creamy card because the drop rate is lower. I don't know if that actually makes sense. I feel like there could be a flaw with the drop system. I think that they shouldn't have this decrease. Maybe yes, a little bit, but not up to that much. Yeah, so let me know what you think down in the comments. Now this is where we are going to stop because we are only talking about the acolytes. So the main thing really is this and where to level. So we're going to start with after turning into an acolyte. So when you turn into an acolyte, you should be around level 12-ish. You can come over to Payon dungeon. Payon Dungeon, number one, is the most iconic place in my opinion. It's one of those places where all the newbies will soon go over and fight zombies. There is a lot of changes. In the past, zombies and skeletons, the zombie is stronger than skeletons, and then there are bats as well. But right now in the renewal, the skeletons are a lot stronger than the zombies. So zombies are actually only at level 17. This means that if you want to have the best experience gain, you can actually start killing it at level 7, which doesn't make much sense because you'll still be nervous and you don't have heals to kill it. It's going to be really hard for you to kill if you could. You're probably going to be around level 12-ish or maybe even more. So around here, the zombie does give you a decent amount of experience, but the thing you want to look out for is going to be the skeletons. So they have a lot more health, about 3 times more, right? A little bit less than 3 times. And at level 17, you're going to get the maximum amount at 140% experience gain. So this is going to be the thing that you look for. Early on, the problem with this place is going to be bats. So bats are stronger than zombies. They are level 24 and they have a lot more health than they used to. I remember back in the days, they have health like 150 or 200-ish, and it wouldn't be that hard even though there's still a lot of people dying to bats. And now they are just a lot stronger. So go in a team, I would suggest, or maybe get some vit so that you don't die in 1 or 2 hits, because they do hit kind of hard for that level. And around level 25, you actually kind of stop gaining extra experience, so it's only 100%. If you feel like you can bear with the leveling, feel free to continue, because this map is actually really dense. So although the experience gain is less, but over time you actually get it more because there's just so much more zombies and skeletons. You don't have to walk or spend time walking around to find one. The next place that I would suggest, or at least plan to go for my acolyte, is going to be the next level. So that's going to be level 2. Over here we have skeleton archer, we have soldier skeleton, and we also have this bat that's going to be a danger to you. Some of the monsters you can more or less ignore because they are not aggressive, so as long as you don't hit them, it would be fine. And the main thing that will be killing is going to be soldier skeleton and not the archer. In fact, if possible, you kind of want to avoid the archer. And let me explain why. So around level 24, right, because at level 25 you stop getting extra experience from skeletons. So at level 24-ish, you could actually go into level 2 and start killing soldier skeletons. The health is not that much, so it's only at 804. I feel like by then you should be able to heal it for maybe 2 max heals, and you should be able to kill it. Again, adjust your heals so that you can use less SP. The lower level your heals, the less SP you use. Now the reason why you want to avoid archer skeleton is because they are level 50, At level 24, you are actually lower than that, so you get really little experience, much lesser than the soldier skeleton. And on top of that, it's going to be a lot harder to kill because it has a lot more health. So you're spending more SP to kill this thing that's going to give you less experience. So try to avoid this guy and just go for this guy. So at the beginning, if you really want to come to this place, it's more of a place where you just search for skeletons, you heal them, they die, you teleport away. So if you come in a big party, you want to make sure that the majority of them is actually coming in at a level 30 plus in order to get more benefits from the other majority enemies. Another alternative is to go to the mines, which is the dead pit at level 3. There are a lot of scary things down there. However, this one is sort of a good monster to be farming on, simply because the skeleton worker card is also a very good PvP card, and in the late games PvP cards are quite valuable. They can sell for a really high price. The soldier and skeleton card is also pretty good. It increases critical and it's good for assassin builds that want to go for AA critical. I think they are decent, but it doesn't really apply to that many players. The skeleton worker is going to be at level 44, so therefore you want to be around level 34 to get the maximum benefits from killing these. And you can see that the health is actually not that much as well, just 400 extra from the soldier skeleton. The next place that you want to go is actually going to be the Orc dungeon, another pretty iconic place to be leveling. The good thing about this place is that there is a lot of spawn. And the thing that you really cannot really deal with is going to be the drain there, which is the red bat. But everything else is actually pretty decent. And try not to hit the steel Chan. They do gang against you if there's more than one. They call their friends. So over here you can see that a orc zombie is going to be at level 51. So you could start getting the maximum benefit at level 41. So around level 40-ish, you want to come over here and start killing. There are also Arc Skeleton, which around level 43 is going to give you the maximum amount. And at this point, if you find that the Arc dungeon is hard, which it shouldn't really be a problem because they move relatively slow, you could actually go back to Payon 2 and start killing the Skeleton Archer, because remember they are level 50, so when you're level 40, you should also be able to kill them and get the most benefits. They have the Apple of Archer, which could sell. I feel like a lot of characters could use them because it gives, I think, 3 dex. Dex could increase casting speed. It could also increase damage for archer classes. It could also be good for you as well for certain skills that need casting. Another alternative when you're around level 40-ish is going to be the pyramids. At level 3, you should be able to find things like this Verit. You could find Mummy. However, this place is very dangerous because of the dogs that they have, and also mimics. And mimics is one of the most scary things because they move really quickly. You can see over here it says the walk speed very fast, and basically they chase you down and you can't heal them, so you have to teleport. When you're in your late 40s, like 48-ish, you can actually go back to Payon, but dungeon level 3 this time, and you should be able to find things like Munok. And Munok is pretty decent because he also dropped a slotted shoe that could sell well as well. And this is also something that you probably want to hunt one for yourself, and maybe put in a Sahi card or something that helps you regenerate your SP. It also drops Girl's Diary, that is a priest weapon that you can also try and get. If you're a boy, you could still equip it, don't worry. And then we have Munok Hat, which is also pretty cool cosmetic in my opinion. I think there is some effects on it. I'm not really sure if there you go. So reduce damage from undead monsters by 10%. You know, considering that you are a healer type, you're probably going to be facing a lot of undeads anyway, so this helmet is great for you. Another thing that you could find in that level is also going to be the Boom Gun, which is the male version of the Munok. Things to be careful of is that he has a stun attack, and when you're stunned, you know, you can't use your skills, you can't heal, you can't teleport. So the main problem of that level is going to be the 9 tails. So the moment you see that, you just want to get out because it's a level 72, and most likely you're not going to be at that level where you could handle such a thing. It is not an undead, so you can't heal it. So it's really just a good idea to bail. Now at this point you're around level 50-ish, and from here on there's actually no really good place to farm. You just kind of have to grind through, maybe join some of your friends, be an actual support, and help them with their leveling places. Try to get yourself to around level 60-ish or 60 plus, and then we're going to move on to Glossium. So Glossium, the first place that we're going to talk about is going to be the Saint Abbey, which is Glossium Church. Over there we have evil druids, which you want to kill, mimic, which you want to avoid, and wrath, which is something that you also want to kill. So the best outcome of killing this is going to be at level 67, but you could join in the fight, even at lower levels, even at level 62. Now don't get too intimidated by this monster. Not only does it have more health and also more magic defense, but this is one of the first few most undeads that you could find. So this is a undead 4. Basically it takes more holy damage than the other undeads that is not so undead. So this is one of the monsters that you could start farming at level 60-ish, and you could get things like a slotted garment. And this is not something that you can put on, but the tank classes, the merchant, thief, they could use this as well, so it's still somewhat sellable. Now this is actually a helmet, so I'm not too sure if you're a male character you can put this on. But then we also have evil druid. Now to me this is a monster that I would really like to kill as long as I can, simply because it dropped wipe herb, which is something that is going to be very useful for my brewer. But also the evil druid card is something that is very useful. The reason why is because it turns you undead basically, and when you're undead you can't be stunned, you can't be stone cursed, that kind of thing, or even in PvP as well. So certain MVP like Fione, which is one of the early MVPs that you might be dealing with, he has AoE stone curse, he also has stun, and having this card will remove all that issues. Anyways, moving on, the next one is going to be the prison. And prison, you're going to find this guy, which is called zombie prisoner. Sadly, they used to have the skeleton zombie as well at the same place, and it's mostly this too. But right now, the current state of prison is that they have a lot of other things like injustice, Ryboy, hunterfly, and all these are not healable. Okay. This one is just a different version, variant of the zombie prisoner. But yeah, basically the rest is not healable. So it's only for this guy that you'll be coming here if you want to farm on him. He is at a level 89, so you could start getting the most benefit out of him at level 79. After that, if you want to go further, you can go over to Prison 1, which is kind of like the second level of Prison 1, the prison before. And from here you can find the skeleton prisoner, and this guy, he is level 91, so you get the most at level 81. The good thing about him is that he drops the formal suit, and this is a very general armor that it can be equipped by all characters. So if you have a really rare card, you actually want to put it in to things like a formal suit. You can switch between characters and you can sell it in the market for a really high price. You want to try your best to get to level 90, and that is where the turn undead is going to be so useful, because you're going to go to this map called Phoenix level 4 and you're going to find Anubis. So Anubis is going to look like this, and you can see a big jump between the health from what you're used to killing. For example, a zombie skeleton prisoner is going to have 9k, and suddenly you have to kill something that has 38k. So it's really hard if you want to kill it through healing. However, if you were to use a turn undead, there's a chance that he dies instantly. And that is where this ability is going to shine. I've seen people using priests to carry their damage dealers like a hunter, assassin, or even a knight to level 99 by killing this over and over again. So it kind of makes sense, because once your priest reach level 99, it cannot increase in level anymore until rebirth. So what you do is you don't rebirth it, and then you can use it to carry your other characters without leveling. So there is always going to be that level gap, which is shareable, and then you can actually kind of carry them and give them experience by killing this over and over again. When you rebirth, you want to make sure that you don't get turned undead anymore, simply because the cost of getting that is going to be the cost of you getting other support skills. Now with that said, this discussion or guide or whatever you want to call this, it's not going to go further from level 99 simply because I have really little experience after level 99. So this is the part where maybe you can tell me down in the description where to go after you finish or once you're done with Anubis. With all this said, remember that there's the Eden group, which has a lot of board missions, quests. Unfortunately, majority of them does not involve killing undead. However, there are some that is for Paeon Dungeon, the Pyramids, Arc Dungeon, which you should definitely take advantage of. In fact, if you could find a good party, it may very well be a lot faster than killing undeads one at a time. So that's pretty much the end of the video. I hope this sharing of my thoughts and everything is going to help newer players, especially if you're going to build a full support priest. And if you are very experienced in the game and you feel like there are things and tips and tricks that you would like to share, please share it down in the comments. I would really like to know more. With that, I'm going to end this really long video. Thank you for listening in. Bye-bye.